Hey there, curious minds! Let's dig into 10 decisions that had America talking. Get set to discover the moments that really shook things up. Number 10. The USA Patriot Act 2001. The USA Patriot Act, signed into law in 2001 by President George W. Bush in response to the 9/11 attacks, aimed to strengthen national security by granting law enforcement expanded surveillance powers. It allowed authorities to collect intelligence on suspected terrorists, share information among agencies, and conduct searches without warrants in terrorism-related cases. The act also enhanced border security and targeted money laundering. However, it faced criticism for potential privacy violations, civil liberties concerns, lack of oversight, and the broad language that could lead to abuse. Critics argued it might disproportionately affect specific racial and ethnic groups, potentially infringing on free speech and intellectual freedom. Efforts to amend or limit certain provisions continue amid ongoing debates about finding a balance between national security and individual privacy rights. Number 9. Iraq War 2003.
My fellow citizens, at this hour, American and coalition forces are in the early stages of military operations to disarm Iraq, to free its people, and to defend the world from grave danger.
The US-led invasion of Iraq in 2003, primarily justified by the false claim of weapons of mass destruction, WMDs, led to a protracted and costly war with far-reaching destabilizing consequences. The Bush administration, under President George W. Bush, asserted that Iraq possessed WMDs, but subsequent investigations revealed the absence of such weapons. The war, marked by insurgency, sectarian violence, and the rise of extremist groups, lasted for years, resulting in a high human and financial cost. Critics contended that the invasion was based on faulty intelligence, lacked international legitimacy, and exacerbated regional instability. The Iraq War stirred widespread anti-war protests and remains a subject of ongoing scrutiny and debate regarding its justification, execution, and long-term impact on the Middle East. Number 8. Tax Cuts and Jobs Act 2017. The Tax Cuts and Jobs Act of 2017, championed by the Republicans, was a significant tax reform that drew both support and criticism. The legislation aimed to stimulate economic growth by lowering corporate tax rates and providing tax cuts for individuals. Proponents argued that these measures would lead to job creation and economic expansion. However, critics contended that the tax cuts disproportionately favored corporations and the wealthy, exacerbating income inequality. They argued that the benefits did not trickle down to the middle and lower income segments of the population as anticipated, and the legislation faced opposition from those concerned about its potential long-term impact on social and economic disparities in the United States. Number 7. The Repeal of Net Neutrality, 2017. The repeal of net neutrality in 2017, led by the Federal Communications Commission, FCC, under the Trump administration, sparked widespread debate and opposition. Net neutrality, established in 2015, aimed to ensure equal access to the Internet by prohibiting Internet service providers, ISPs, from blocking or throttling content or engaging in paid prioritization. The repeal, spearheaded by Chairman Ajit Pai, reversed these protections. Supporters argued that it would encourage investment and innovation in the Internet industry. However, critics, including advocates for a free and open Internet, contended that it could lead to discriminatory practices by ISPs, favoring certain content or creating fast lanes for those willing to pay more. The move faced strong opposition from the public, tech companies, and activists concerned about the potential consequences for online freedom and equal access. Number 6. Family Separation Policy 2018. The 2018 Family Separation Policy, implemented by the Trump administration at the US-Mexico border, faced intense criticism for forcibly separating children from their parents during immigration enforcement. As part of a zero-tolerance strategy, it aimed to deter illegal crossings but sparked widespread condemnation due to its humanitarian impact and the emotional distress inflicted on families. The policy triggered protests, legal challenges, and public outcry as critics, including lawmakers and advocacy groups, condemned it as inhumane. The moral and ethical concerns surrounding the separation of families led to significant opposition, prompting calls for a reversal of the policy and renewed discussions on immigration reform. Number 5. Withdrawal from the Paris Agreement, 2017.
The United States will withdraw from the Paris Climate Accord.
The Trump administration's 2017 withdrawal from the Paris Agreement, citing economic concerns and perceived disadvantages for American businesses, marked a notable departure from global efforts to combat climate change. This decision faced widespread criticism for undermining international environmental commitments, triggering concerns about the United States' role in addressing the pressing issue. Despite the federal withdrawal, numerous U.S. states, cities, and businesses expressed a commitment to uphold the Accord's goals, contributing to ongoing debates about the nation's environmental responsibility and the delicate balance between economic interests and global efforts to mitigate climate change. Number 4. Muslim travel ban, 2017. The Muslim travel ban, implemented by the Trump administration in 2017, restricted entry for citizens of certain predominantly Muslim countries in the name of national security. Widely criticized, opponents argued it amounted to religious discrimination and violated constitutional principles. Protests, legal challenges, and multiple iterations followed, with the Supreme Court eventually upholding the ban in 2018. Critics decried the policy as discriminatory, sparking ongoing discussions about immigration policies and their alignment with American values. The ban raised questions about the delicate balance between national security concerns and the preservation of constitutional rights. Number 3. Emergency Declaration for Border Wall, 2019. The emergency declaration for the border wall in 2019, declared by President Donald Trump, sought to allocate funds for the construction of a border wall along the U.S.-Mexico border. The move aimed to address what the administration labeled as a national emergency due to illegal immigration and border security concerns. However, it faced substantial opposition from critics who argued that the situation did not warrant an emergency declaration and that it was an attempt to bypass Congress's budgetary authority. Legal challenges ensued, and Congress attempted to block the declaration, highlighting concerns about the precedent it could set for executive power. The controversy spurred debates on immigration policy, the separation of powers, and the appropriate use of emergency declarations. Number 2. COVID-19 Pandemic Response 2020. The U.S. government's response to the COVID-19 pandemic from 2020 to 2021 faced significant criticism for a lack of preparedness, early shortages of PPE and testing kits, and inconsistent public health messaging. Critics noted that the rollout of vaccines and resources was uneven, disproportionately affecting poorer and minority communities. The devastating human and economic toll of the pandemic fueled widespread dissatisfaction with the federal government's efforts. While acknowledging the unprecedented global crisis and scientific uncertainties, many argued that a more effective and equitable response was possible, despite the challenges posed by the federal system's division of powers between federal and state governments. Number 1. Overturning Roe v. Wade, 2022. In a highly controversial 6-3 vote, the Supreme Court overturned the landmark 1973 case Roe v. Wade, which constitutionally established the right to abortion nationwide. This decision, dismantling nearly 50 years of precedent, sparked widespread protests. Critics argued that overturning Roe would disproportionately impact low-income women and women of color, facing greater hurdles in states where abortion is now banned or severely restricted. The decision reignited the long-standing debate over abortion rights, emphasizing the significant legal and social implications for the future. Make sure to subscribe for more content like this. We'd love to hear your thoughts. Leave your opinion as a comment below, and let's keep the conversation going.